This is a Bulldog Radio podcast.
It's Tuesday, April 26th here on the MVSP. Myself, Brandon Worth, Joe Nagy, and another special guest. He's back for possibly one last time. We hope it's more, but Travis Hicks is joining us. Travis, good to have you on at least one more time, man.
Oh, thank you, boys. This is like where it all started with all of us and Barrett. I just feel like we're just missing one more, but no, thank you. It isn't crazy with graduation coming up, probably being the last time, but I'm excited to go with one more bang.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Great show ahead of you. We got the Ferris State Sports Report. We covered all the crazy action this weekend, including the spring game, GLIAC Tournaments, and more coming up in tennis, golf, and more as well. We'll get into the NBA playoffs and what happened with the Brooklyn Nets as well. But first, shout out to Bulldog Radio for making this show possible. If you want to start your podcast on campus, we know it's getting late in the semester, but keep in mind for next year, the one-stop shop to start your podcast. So it can be about anything. We need some more podcasts in the network. I'd love to hear like a good entertainment podcast. What are the news on around the movies and all the new stuff coming out over the summer? Because like I'm gonna have some time on my hands. I gotta watch some movies or something.
That's true.
So we need some
Don't
more.
watch Morbius.
What?
Bad movie. Don't watch Morbius. Bad movie.
Joe, obviously.
L movie. L.
It's an L? Okay, what's the grade?
I don't know. I just heard it's really bad. Plus, like out of everything, plus Jared Leto's a method actor, and I heard like that's not where it's at. So.
Oh gracious! So there you go. There's an idea. Let's rate Morbius. That's where you can start in your pilot episode, I guess, courtesy of Joe Nagy. Maybe you can have him on the show. He'll talk about it, right? You can also have me on the show to talk anything Marvel related because I've only seen one movie, and you want to know which one it was?
Iron Man.
No, Endgame.
You watched?
I watched nothing all the way through, and my buddies were like, we're gonna go watch Endgame. You want to come? And I'm like, no, but yes, absolutely. So I watched all of Endgame without any context or backstory.
That must have been very confusing.
Let's just say it was a wild ride, just to say the least. But there you go. Start your movie podcast at Bulldog Radio, whatever it is, music, politics, culture, and more.
Whatever it might be.
Whatever it might be. But anyway, into the Ferris State Sports Report we go. We can start on the gridiron. Spring game was in action over the weekend. We got to see the national champions back on the field one more time for the ring ceremony, as well as seeing all of the upcoming fall teammates being able to play against each other in a once-of-a-lifetime game, basically. But I think it was a great game overall. I was not there in person. I know you guys were. But I mean, just from watching online, it was really cool to see all the changes and just the unique scoring style. Obviously, getting points for first downs is something that kind of catches you off guard immediately. But I mean, still got to see a lot of good things. Defense made some plays for both teams, and I mean, overall, it was a pretty solid game.
It was a pretty sick time, not gonna lie. It was fun to be back up in the press box with everybody. Kind of, I mean, it wasn't to the extent of doing stats or anything like that, but it's still just being able to go back up there. Like, it gets you excited for fall time because I think working football is like one of my favorite things. And like that, just to be back in the press box and just to see like the players and stuff, it was like a little bit, more relaxed on the field and stuff like that. But still, like to see the guys, using all the practice and stuff that spring gave them, and then to be able to kind of showcase that a little bit, it was a good time. Plus, we're looking good. I think we can repeat, so we'll see.
It was a fun time, Joe. It was nice being in the box with you again, and this was like the last football game I'll probably ever work at Ferris, so it was surreal, like to kind of, it felt like an all-star game in a way, like the game wasn't taken like too seriously. It was more for like entertainment purposes, which was nice. And the best part was seeing the NFL guys come back. Austin Edwards, Tyler Thomas, Malik Taylor was even here. Seeing them get interviewed by Sandy and Rob was really cool. It was just fun. Then the rings,
Jason Barnlon and all that were too, so that was cool to see.
And the rings look amazing. Like Tony had when we were doing interviews one last time, he had his ring on, and it was really cool. Everyone has their last name on it. And I do agree with you, Joe. I think they can repeat. We also got a chance to see a sneak peek at the schedule. The first few games are against playoff opponents, so that'll be interesting to see. But speaking to Malik Mitchell, he's very confident in the team. I think they only lost actually 6 players, guys. So I think they're going to be
6 players out of like our 130-man roster or something like that, which is ridiculous.
Basically.
One of them is Bernhardt, but I think the shoes being filled are, Malik, and he can fill them. So I think the team's going to be incredible.
Well, I mean, he can fill them because the first play he had for the spring game, he heaved it 60 yards in the air on a dime to the back of the end zone. And I don't know who it was. They dropped the pass, but it was like right in his hands.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, all right, yeah, we're dialed. We're gonna be fine.
Yeah, and we've shown over the last really all 3 years, whatever quarterback's in there, we can win games. It doesn't matter necessarily who's under center. We've won games with Jesse. We've won games with Evan. We've won games with Malik. So it's very, very capable. It's not like we're going in to a fresh new season of, oh, we got basically a new kid on the block we haven't seen yet play college football. Like, all 3 of our guys have experience that are in our depth chart right now. So it's like there's not really, like, there's no worry at all that they're going to be able to step in, because we know Coach Neese well. We know that they're all going to take snaps during games this season, no matter how crazy it makes for fans trying to follow what's going on. But it's just going to be how the way it is. But I mean, we saw a lot of younger guys too that stepped up, made a lot of nice plays. I know, especially out from the receivers in the DB group, those guys looked really good. And I mean, it's really going to be fun to see, because I mean, you're right, Travis. Right, once we get into September, it's Leno Ryan. It's playoff teams straight out of the gate, and that's exactly what you want to do, is set the tone and say, hey, we're here to stay, and let's go chase another ring.
I think the only thing like we really have to worry about, not even worry about, because we look pretty solid anyways, was just replenishing that O-line, because I think, what was it, 4 out of the 6 people we lost were all starting O-linemen, so I think that's the only thing that like is going to be in development a lot over the summer and kind of in practices before the season starts. But like we still had a interchanging O-line like all throughout the season. We had that first string and second string like take breaks all the time. So I'm not really too worried about that, seeing that we have that interchangeability already, and we have guys who have game sense already. But it's just gonna be kind of getting new people to be like more front of that starter role and take over for like Dylan Pasquale, who is arguably one of the best offensive linemen we've ever had at Ferris. So
yeah, and I mean, we got guys that are going to be already declaring that they've already are going to be in the draft process. We'll see if some of them get drafted. There have been rumors swirling around that Obeid might be a day 3 guy, so he might be taken off the board on NFL Network Saturday, so that can be something fun to watch, as well as obviously the rumors of where Bernhardt's next venture will be. We've heard Denver is one of the suitors right now for him. They've done a top 30 interview with him, so hey, what's the motto? You can get there from here. And it's so true. So true.
It is. And also another team that's looking at Bernhardt is actually the Patriots. And I find that ironic.
Of course.
I read something about Ian, I can't think of his last name, one of the NFL insiders, when he was talking in his article about Bernhardt. If he were to go to New England, they would use him in kind of a Chris Hogan role or Julian Edelman. And I think that could be unique, because it's funny, all these lacrosse guys that go to the league.
I was about to say, you said Chris Hogan. I was like, wait, another former lacrosse player? I'm seeing a pattern.
I think that will just be like incredible. And I think one thing, it's a preaching to the greatness of Anise. He's had all these guys under his tenure that have made the NFL. Like you said, Jason Verlin, Tyvier Thomas, Austin Edwards, all these guys were under Anise. So he's sending the guys there. And one guy I actually want to name, he's obviously going to be back at Ferris for his sophomore year, but he just has potential. And we all of them know him closely because he's in our class, Tyrese Hunt Thompson. The fact he's only going to be a sophomore and the impact he had on this previous season, I think they're going to be incredible, because Ferris kind of gives me this Alabama-type dominance for D2. I don't know why.
That's a great comparison.
Think going into this season, 38 straight regular season wins. They haven't lost one since October of 17, 3 straight GLIAC championships, and obviously the reigning national title champions. In 4 of the last 5 years, they made the semifinals. So they're like guaranteed almost to go deep in December. So even though I won't be here, I'm excited to watch from like social media and see how far they go.
If they make the Natty, are you gonna go down? You gonna come back down?
I think I should ask Fox 47 if I could like cover it. I think that'll be cool.
That'd be sick.
It would be in McKinney.
Yeah, it'll be in McKinney again.
I'm assuming, it'll be in McKinney again. You could probably pull some strings. Hey, I'm covering this for the state. The people want to know. Ferris State, we booming
awesome
here, baby. Especially in football, but it's gonna be a fun fall. We're looking forward to it. It can come fast as it would like, so we can be going to games, tailgating, and watching Ferris State dominate football again, of course. Anyway, moving forward now, we had the GLIAC golf tournament for the women's this weekend. Very solid performance. Ended up finishing 5th, just out of the medal match. But overall, some solid performances, and the season's not over. As according to the NCAA regional draws, our ladies team has made it to the Midwest / Northeast regional, or however they put those together. But the ladies will be playing another day. They're going to be traveling to Kansas City, Missouri next week, May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. For sure, and then with a chance to go to Gainesville for the national championship. So overall, solid performances all around. We saw a lot of good scores, especially for a tough Stonehenge course. Overall, saw a lot of good things. Individually, Lane Eldred, Dana Stowski played great. Abby Gravel, Hope Thiebaud, Lauren Kempf all had some very, very solid scores. We looked at all the teams ahead of us. They just had a little bit better of a start, or a really, really good chop on round 2. So we played very consistent, but just needed a little bit more round 2 to get through. And some of the other teams did that, so you got to give them some credit.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. And it's just like our sports have all year have really been dominant. So hopefully we can continue to keep it going. But shout out to other teams at Invitational. I think that opportunity to get to go to Gainesville would be amazing. And it's nice that they're having a lot of these national and conference championships in these nice locations. So hopefully we can, make a run and see like what can happen next. But my question to you, Brandon, so the conference tournament's already done, so now they're preparing for the national.
They will be going to regionals, yep, and with a chance to go to nationals. So that would be the women's side. The men's side apparently did not make the cut. They finished, I believe, like the last team out, if that would be in the bubble standards. I believe the Grand Valley, Davenport, and Wayne State were the ones selected.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Stupid.
So on that part of it, it's very disheartening for us because we played so well down the stretch, and we played better than Wayne State, but especially the last 3-4 weeks of the season. And obviously there might be circumstances there we don't know about or whatever, because at the beginning of the season, I think it was Brown Golf first tournament of the year. I think we were around 10th, and they had won it. Like, they were looking like one of the best teams in the country at the point. And then they kind of slowly teetered off a little bit. They finished 6th this last weekend at the GLIAC tournament. So I don't know if they necessarily got an auto bid, or if they regional rankings got them in or whatever, because I think it's kind of on paper, you look at what we saw as far as the final standings over the last 3-4 weeks, and we have a reaction just like Joe, stupid. We were better than them. Why did we not get in? So I'm not exactly sure how that worked out, but if it's just kind of more like an at-large bid when they have a committee together, that kind of stinks, because I think that our guys played much better down the stretch, and theoretically going into championship play, you'd want the better team going into the tournament at that moment of time. So it is what it is.
Stupid. I don't know. I think the way that we played, especially in the GLIAC Championship and later on, we played really solid at the Cav Classic. We placed 10th, but still we played really solid on day one, and we were really, really consistent throughout the whole season. So I don't know why we didn't really get the bid, especially seeing that we beat Grand Valley in the conference tournament. Wayne State didn't even get to the final or towards the medal rounds. So I don't know why they would kind of put them over, but I guess if you look at what they were able to do over the season, then maybe. But I still think with how well we did and how much we improved throughout the whole season, especially the last 3 weeks, I think we definitely should have deserved to get in. But I guess that's the way it goes with NCAA and all that.
I gotta agree with you, Joe, because it's we've already beat them, and we have the resume that stacks up, to everyone else. It seems like we met the criteria to make it. Just sadly, I don't know what goes into that process, but no, especially if you've already beaten the competition they got, and I do think it's kind of ridiculous, especially when the records are similar. But maybe some of these people just aren't Ferris fans. They just don't want to see us because we win too much. No, I'm just
they're jealous.
That's
man.
What
they're
it
jealous.
is.
We're winning everything too much.
You hate us because you ain't us.
That's exactly right.
Don't take it out on us because we're good. Come on, son.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, anyway, it is what it is. Women's will live to play another day, and we'll be excited for them. You can follow that all along. There will be coverage this week as they head down to Missouri. I'm assuming at the end of the week. I'll probably get some practice in at CACI before so. And also, CACI needs to open up their driving range ASAP, Joe.
I'm pretty sure it's open.
Is it now? Okay.
Sean went the other day, I think.
I heard rumors. I did see that. I didn't know if that was CACI or not, but it could have been. I saw there was something that said they were closed last week, because I was going to go earlier in the week because, I got to work on my irons now before the season starts, and then I heard it was closed, and I was like, oh, that's weird. It's like going to be 80 degrees. Like it's kind of, I don't understand that, but maybe it is open right now. Maybe I can go this weekend, but I was ready to get that practice in, Joe. I'm ready for our matchup when we come back in August.
I know the practice holes are open.
Are they?
I don't know, but it's also like super wet.
Yeah.
Like, I went with my roommate the other day, and it was
Slop.
there's like 2 shots where I got just a face full of mud flying up at me.
Ooh, nasty.
Not great.
Just
Not
nasty.
great.
Yeah. Anyway, hopefully khaki opens up ASAP because I got to use that student discount so I
is
can
true.
play some
Yeah.
rounds, dude. That's
I'm gonna have to
such
take advantage of that a
cool
lot
discount.
more next year, or at least because I only did it like 2 or 3 times last fall. I gotta take advantage of that.
Yeah, this summer I'm going to be taking advantage of it for sure. Anyway, transitioning over to tennis. Friday, got a win over Saginaw Valley, 6-1 in a special day with the court dedication to former coach Eddie Luck. Also there. Great crowd there. Was awesome to see everybody in support. And, I mean, overall great matches. Took care of business very easily. And that's something you like to see going into postseason play. And overall, Coach Doran's squad looking dominant is good. And as I believe now, the women's drew a 4 seed overall.
Yep. Men's are 2.
And the men's are number 2. So it's that week. It's time to go. Jason.
It's game time.
It's revenge time. Can we get it? Go back to back? That is the question. Our teams have been playing really good. And I think it definitely is a possibility because I think we look a lot at the standings overall. I mean, you see Northwood and Wayne State, especially on the men's side, as really solid. But those 2 teams, like there's like 4 people, it seems like, in each conference, 4 teams on both the men's and the women's side that are at the top tier where eventually those teams are going to have to play each other, right? The good teams are going to have to face off hypothetically. But again, it's postseason and everybody's 0-0, so somebody could pull off an upset. But, I mean, there's so many good, there's no runaway candidates. Like it was kind of like us against GV last year on both sides, which is exactly what happened. But this year, it's really wide open. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be able to come out on top, especially with the tournament coming. And it's going to be fun to watch because, I mean, obviously everybody's going to be paying attention from what happened last year. And, I mean, it'll be a testament to this women's team, especially without Morgan Waller in there, that they're going to be able, that they could be able to go back-to-back with even out their number 1 overall player and a GLIAC Player of the Year last year. Be very impressive, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they do.
Yeah. I think that's going to be very interesting. I think both teams can go back-to-back. Obviously, the men's, they won the GLIAC last year. Matisse has been one of the best players in the country. He's also been ranked high, too. So I think they can definitely do in the girls, seeing Sam and how the other ones have been playing. I think there's a very possibility. And, like, they've been keeping the consistency. And coaches, one thing he said a few times I've interviewed him, that they want to keep the consistency and persistence to compete up with the best. And one thing I like about him, they treat everyone the same regardless if they're playing Parkside or GV. They're trying to get the best every time out. And it was nice to see a big crowd there because usually it's not always like a lot of people at tennis. So it was really nice to see that. And why not? I mean, if tennis wins, that could be 7 or 8 GLIAC championships from the fall and spring combined, which would be insane.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Insanity.
That's crazy.
That's the only words that could describe that. But
Go. You want to say something?
No, go.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to say I'm looking forward to it, too. Especially, like, for the women's side, we're going to be taking on Lake State with a 4-5 spot. I mean, we did beat them early in the year, so it's going to be another tough one, especially since we only beat them, I think it was 4-3. And then we got Northwood with a bye that if we do win this one, we'll play them. And they're they are the toughest team in the GLIAC right now. But I think we'll be doing pretty well. And I know men's team has the first round bye since they locked up that 2nd seed. I'm just kind of surprised that they just don't do all 8 teams in the GLIAC tournament. I
don't know because
just do a 1 versus 8 and a 2 versus 7, and then do that type of deal.
Yeah,
3 versus 6.
Instead of just the bye, because then that takes out the 2 teams like that. Like Michigan Tech didn't make it for the men, and then I think it was Northern didn't make it for the men.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Which is a little weird.
Yeah, because I mean, Tech would have been a team I would have been really interested to see how they played, especially for how much they've improved this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of weird that they don't have all 8 because then you're kind of like, it's kind of exclusive. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, for all tournaments, the GLIAC has done a really good job of like, hey, we're not just going to let every team get in the tournament. Like, you got to be really, really good.
Yeah, you got to play for it.
Yeah, exactly, because it's kind of the same situation with basketball, too, is you only got the top 8 out of 10 or 12, so you kind of got to play your way through the regular season. Put some incentive on the regular season, and for sure, because, I mean, some teams could just kind of dog it down the stretch in preparation, like they could sit out players and all those sort of things. But if you have to get in, you're going to have to win now. Bring more emphasis on the regular season. But
it's true.
Should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to it. That'll be next weekend. Of course, I believe, did they announce the location yet? Or is it going to be based off of
let me give a quick little look-see here. It's in Midland. It's in Northwood.
Okay, that's what I figured. So it's to the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Is the host?
It's just in Midland altogether.
Oh, everything's in Midland?
The men's is, and then 1 second. Let me give a quick look-see to
that would make sense
the
then what the
side.
women's was.
I'm pretty sure they both are because, yeah, both of them are.
Wow, interesting. So probably, I'm assuming that it wasn't.
It'll probably just be like the same thing. It's kind of like men start first and then women start second, or women start first, men start second.
It'll be one big day, but it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. But
they probably have enough courts there.
Yeah, I'm
they
sure
can
they
be like
got
indoor
enough
and
courts.
outdoor.
Yeah, they got a pretty nice facility over there. Yeah. But anyway, cheer on tennis. It's postseason
Go tennis
time.
team.
Go tennis team.
Go tennis
Let's
team.
go.
Oh,
Let's
gee.
go. It's like Wimbledon, not Wimbledon. I don't know what I just said. It's like Wimbledon, but like the next step lower, like that would be like nationals, actually college nationals. So we're like the third tier below, but it's still very good quality tennis for sure. Me and Joe can attest to that. Anyway, moving over to softball now. We had a loaded week, 8 games since Wednesday, and they'll actually be on the road today as we speak over to play the Timberwolves once again of Northwood at their place. Overall, early of the week had a little bit of struggles. Saturday, definitely made some improvements, and then I finally broke through on Sunday with a sweep over Wisconsin Parkside.
Big W's.
And some good games there.
Big W's only.
Yep, big dubs. You look at what we saw earlier in the week. We were playing some really good games, and it just seemed like there was always like one inning, or there was just kind of one spur, a couple, like just at bottom of an inning, or maybe 2 bottom of the innings, where we just kind of let things get away just a little bit and didn't capitalize. And that kudos to GV and Northwood for taking care of some of those games. But on Saturday and Sunday, especially for the weather, because I'm pretty sure Sunday the games got moved to a middle school field because Parkside Field, I believe they might be the only ones that have all dirt and grass, old-fashioned style, and unfortunately it dumped down on them before that game, so they had to move. But taking care of business is certainly something that we've looking forward to this team for doing, and Sunday they certainly showed it with some big wins. Clutch wins, talking only it was 14-10 in the first game, and then the nightcap went 8 innings. It was 6-5 the final. So gritting out those games and finally getting up over the hump is what we've been waiting for this team to do, because they are a much better team than their record shows, and really we've been just waiting to see that.
There's 3 bombs in the Wisconsin Parkside game.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Bombs.
Yeah, no, it's definitely nice to see them win because they have been competitive. We've all watched Coastly working the game for athletics, and they're up there. Like, we've beaten Purdue Northwest and Grand Valley, the 2 top teams in the GLIAC, and most of our games are competitive. I think the biggest thing with them, and Coach James has even said it before to me, is like leaving runners on base. And our OPS is great. Like, we get runners in scoring position, but we just don't always finish the job. And it was numerous of times we've had bases loaded, not necessarily getting the job done. But I do think they're starting to get into the rhythm, and I do think they really have nothing to lose. I think if they make it to when they make it to the GLIAC tournament, anything could happen because everybody's beaten everyone. And if they can keep getting performances out of Christy Gray that have been pretty strong, she's gone 6 innings before, only allowed 1 earned run and 4 hits against Purdue Northwest. That was an incredible game. If they can get more performances like that out of her and Christy Barr. I know they did lose someone to Tommy John, sadly, but I think another big thing for them has been Paige Courts. Every game I've seen, she's always got a hit, and she's batting over 360. She's been amazing. So hopefully they can keep that momentum and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you can check out our interview with Paige Courts in the feed below. Great conversations, including her bowling career. She's actually a really good bowler as well that we learned on the show. So she can do it all, folks. But anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right, Joe or Travis. I almost called you Joe. I'm like flip-flop right now in my vision. But yeah, absolutely. The pitching has definitely been improved over, and especially with the circumstances. We've had it seems like a lot of our pitching has just been injured as of recently. We've had to use a plethora of pitchers over shorter innings just so we can be able to keep everybody kind of moving. And I mean, especially for playing such good offensive teams where you just got to give some like teams like Northwood and GV that are really good hitting teams, you got to get them different looks to try to keep them off balance and being able to keep the scores low. And that's just a really tough thing to do when you only got 3 or 4 pitchers you can use a game just based off of health, right? Availability is the best ability. And in that case, it's certainly reigning true for us right now. But I mean, even the Purdue Northwest games, I mean, we only allowed, I believe, 8 runs over the 2 games. That's really solid for over a doubleheader. And I mean, Parkside obviously didn't really need to because our bats were hot as a campfire. With, I believe, I combined 31 hits, I believe, in those 2 games, combined 18 and 13. Yikes.
Jeez.
That is scorching. But so that's sometimes you need that break and that breakthrough finally, and this team got it because I mean we've seen them in a position, and Travis, you mentioned it, runners on base. We've always had those opportunities, but finally getting them across the plate, got to be a relief, right? Got to be a relief, and I mean especially you can look at comparison over like the going in from Northwood. If I can count correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. 4, 8. 12 RBIs over the 6 games going into Sunday, and then we had 12 the first game against Parkside, and then we followed it up with 6. So we had 18 RBIs comparably to 12 over the 6 games previously. Getting runners across the plate is what makes us such a good team, and when we are able to do that, we can beat these teams. Just sometimes it's just a little bit of a slump. That's really all it is, and I mean, we've had that for parts of the season, but hopefully now we can use this last game as a huge springboard because we're going to need it against a good Timberwolves team that we're going to be playing here today at 3 and 5 o'clock over at Northwood.
And I mean, we got home games coming up at the end of this week too, which are going to be sick. So hopefully we can play pretty solid with that too. Yeah,
but going to play a good Wayne State team that we fought pretty well with. I mean, I think we lost 6-3 in one of those contests in Detroit, I believe, earlier this season as well. And then we'll also be playing Parkside once again. We'll be playing them at home later this season, as well as Saginaw Valley, a team that we almost beat in I believe it was the second game early back in April. So definitely winnable games, and we can hopefully use this stretch and get some W's going into the tournament, get a good seed, and being able to really show out because it doesn't matter who's the number 1 seed when it comes to softball.
That's
Any
true.
team's possible. True. It's baseball and softball. I feel like seeding. Obviously, we'll get
kind of goes out the window a little bit.
Yeah. Like we'll get into the NBA and we'll talk about that stuff later here. But I feel like softball, baseball, it's really like if any sport has 0-0 going in, it's got to be softball and baseball, just because of the factor of it's such a hot or cold sport that basically. One team gets hot, they're almost unbeatable. It's not going to matter what seed they are. And I mean, especially like going back to like the high school days, it's like you always look at the seeding in your tournament and you're like, yeah, there's the 1 seed, but any of the top 3 could win because any team can get hot. That's really all it comes down to. And I mean, especially with pitching as well, some people have some nasty stuff when it comes on postseason. So it just kind of clicks. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see how each of these teams prepares for under the lights.
Oh yeah, I think definitely it's going to be interesting, and like you said, it almost gives it like a March Madness feel because anything could happen anytime. Like if your bat's hot or you have a pitcher that's flowing really good, like anything could happen. So I really think like we can make a run. We've beaten everybody, and I think why not in May? So that'll be cool to get another GLIAC championship, tournament championship, automatic NCAA bid. So we'll have to
another one.
I find it crazy that just your senior year, Travis, especially with covering it, you had to do national title for football. You had to do a GLIAC regular season championship for basketball, and however many like other GLIAC championships you had to cover. Soccer, 5 or 6 or something like that.
No, you're completely right, Joe. It was 1 national title and 5 GLIAC. That was perfect.
You put that on the resume.
Yeah, that was really cool, especially the national title. Like it's a dominance for all the teams. Like great coaching, great recruits. We've even got good transfers. So like to see them all win is like it's amazing, So I really hope like next year they continue it. I think you guys will witness even more GLIAC championships moving forward.
Absolutely, championship culture.
I wouldn't be appalled.
I'd
love to see a lot of teams go.
Give me a couch and some popcorn. I'm ready to watch this thing, man.
I'm hoping for football. We play well and host again. Because
That's good.
That was a
smart.
lot of fun. When
Yeah.
we didn't just being up in the press box during the postseason.
Oh my gosh, if I could pay to have another moment in McKinney's press box at the ISD field, to be able to walk out and have everybody staring at me when we're up 58-17 against Valdosta. Oh my gosh, I would get, here's my wallet, just take it.
What, they were just looking at you and just like, yeah, we're like that.
Yeah, we're like that. It's exactly what it felt like. If I could get that feeling again, oh
Dude, it was funny when ESPN was like at Top Taggart for when we played Shepherd, and like they were supposed to be like they were like the best offense in the country, and we held them to 7 points.
Yes,
They had the Harlan Hill winner too.
yeah,
and
Tyson
then like
Badgett.
who was the play-by-play guy for ESPN?
It was Jason Ross, and I forget the guy's the other guy. It was two guys.
He walked out after the game, and I just like locked eyes with him. He just like. And I was like, yep, that's us. That's been us this whole postseason there, big dog.
Welcome to Ferris State University, my friend.
This might be a big take, but it might be a little biased, but I think that was the greatest Division II playoff run in history. To beat Northwest Missouri.
Ooh, yeah.
That's not even
I love that take.
That's
I love it.
take.
Beat Grand Valley twice. We're the only team to beat them. They were number 4 in the country. We blew them out. Then beat Northwest Missouri State without Jared Bernhardt. Malik comes in 18-21 against the number 1 so-called defense. Then Shepherd has the Harlan Hill winner. Then we get the revenge against Valdosta from 2018. I think that's like icing.
And
on
you
the cake.
outscore your opponents in the postseason like 200 to like 40 or something like that, which is ridiculous.
Could you have scripted it better?
I don't think you
you
could have.
can.
I don't
think you can.
I feel like that's gotta be one of the greatest seasons in NCAA D2 history.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You gotta say so.
And it's not just that. Like honestly, we could argue that it was one of the greatest seasons altogether. And I think really the only blips we would like look at is the Saginaw game and then maybe the Wayne State game. Was that homecoming, I believe?
That was the last game.
No, it was
of the
Davenport.
season.
That was the homecoming game.
Was homecoming.
But yeah, that game. I mean, obviously we rested guys for sure, but I don't think that's. I think that's a realistic take. I don't think that's because I mean,
on paper that was probably the hardest playoff schedule anybody's had to have probably ever.
Yeah, I mean, the first round you get GV, you get Anchor Bone. That doesn't. It doesn't matter seeding going into that game. That game's gonna be a dogfight no matter what.
You feel me?
We shut them down. We're playing, and then our next task is Northwest Missouri, which I believe they were number 2 or 3 best defense in the entire nation, and also the I believe most winningest national championship football program in Division II altogether.
Yeah, they have 6.
Yep, and then you got the nation's best offense with accordingly, I put air quotes, the nation's best player in Tyson Badgett, and you hold him to 7 points, and you're right.
We outscored in the playoffs. We outscored 208 to 54.
Whoa,
That's incredible! But
in the playoffs,
in the playoffs,
me.
We're talking about playoffs.
The only hiccup too was against that Saginaw Valley team.
Yeah.
This makes me ask a question. I actually want to get both your feedback. I love the way how the D2 playoffs is set up. Do you think, obviously D1 probably won't change
D1 should do it.
I think D1 should have 28 teams. The reason why, it gives you an opportunity for upsets. It's kind of like when we were all watching the football team make our run this year to the first national title, there's opportunity for upsets. West Florida lost. West Georgia lost. These top teams lost early. And I would love to see if D1 did that. Like, say if Alabama played like a team that was number maybe 18 in the country and they just lost that game. Because, these things could happen. I think I
would say at least because I know they were saying like expand it to like 8 teams or whatever. I say expand it to 12.
I agree.
Because there are teams that have a bad like hiccup in the middle of the season that moves them down to like 13 or something like that, and they're able to claw their way back to like maybe 12, 11, 10, and they could compete with a lot of teams that are up there, and they could easily upset like a big team like Alabama, Ohio State, and like those perennially like top 4 teams. But I don't know. I feel like it'd be criminal not to expand the playoff and like even more. I feel like when it's going to be 8, they're going to see like, oh, this was actually a pretty good success. Like people liked it. We're going to expand it to 12.
Yeah, I personally like the 8 idea a lot. And I think 12 is a good idea. I think it'll start to get a little shaky when now we're talking about who's top 4 for buys, right? Because then obviously then it's going to change it up for getting that break of time. But I think overall, the Division II playoff for me is awesome, and I think it fits really well because I think that one of the issues for Division I is you've already played so many games, right? Because you're going to be at 12, 13 games already played going into the playoff. Like they're going to be like, we don't want to play 3-4 more games potentially with a Division II. Like that's one of the pushbacks you could get. But I mean, for a Division I program too, that gives like opportunity for teams to really get in and strategize. Like, we might let's let some other younger guys play in some of these other games, right? And it'll really bring health and fatigue overall from the season as more of a factor. And then you're going to be able to see these Division I programs being able to see 80 guys potentially playing one game rather than the typical 33 for the majority of the time. But I think it'd be interesting. I think everybody's just kind of like getting into the mode. It's like, it's coming. It's just a matter of time because it's too good. It's too good to pass up.
Yeah, but I love the D2 playoff.
I do
too. Just how many teams there are.
I do too. I love it.
That's why I asked, because I feel like it's just a great with the way how it's set up. With I think 4 teams get a bye in 28 teams. Like it gives it that like competitive like fire, like a March Madness.
Yeah.
I think it'd be sweet to have that kind of a playoff system, and obviously we'll have to wait and see because I know they've had the rumors coming through for years now. When it'll actually come out will be the true question.
I think last year. Wait, so Grand Valley's moving to D1 next year, right?
Not
officially.
We're
but
still hearing rumors of that, but not officially. No.
So this last year probably could have been the last time we ever see him in the playoffs. I mean,
maybe.
unless we see him this year.
Unless we see him this year. But the luck of the draw on that will be. But at the end of the day, though, they know those things. Don't tell me the committee doesn't know what they're doing when they put us against GV. That's a load of crap because you know that they want to put us together.
It's definitely not like a draw the hat because you could have put. Who was it? There was a team that was like in Missouri or something that you could have.
Yeah, it would have been Lindenwood. Yeah, they had to beat them to play us.
Yeah, you could have definitely put another team in there.
Yeah,
but
you could have routed it.
I don't mind, dude. I don't mind beating them, slap them around 54-20, and then have to watch Coach Mitchell like not even know what he's gonna say in the post game.
Oh my gosh,
that was the most awkward.
That was the weirdest.
It was hilarious.
Tense 2 minutes I've ever been up there.
It was hilarious
with being around an interview. Just sitting in the chair and just seeing Coach Mitchell just staring. And then you were there too, Trev. You asked the question.
Yeah, he's just
he didn't answer for like 15 seconds.
At first, I remember looking at Barrett. I'm like, is the mic on? I was like, am I not loud enough?
That's so
funny. Then he was like, are we all done? All right. Then I was like, hey, if you get beat like that, you can leave.
He's like,
you want to leave.
Go ahead.
I remember
fine. We want to celebrate.
I remember having to go get Coach Anise and him after the game with Kyle. And, I went to Coach Anise. I was like, hey, Coach, when you get a chance, come up, to the press box. Just go to the second floor so, that way Coach Mitchell can do whatever. Then I go get Coach Mitchell. I was like, hey, Coach Mitchell, I come up. And then he's like, all right, let me go to the locker first. I was like, can't do that. You got to go up. And he was just he was just fuming the whole way I was walking with him. I was like, I want to say something, but I don't. I also don't want to accidentally say anchor down or something like that. It's probably going to squeeze out.
Yeah, just a little tense, but absolutely fun for sure. We look forward to it. But anyway, wrapping up the Ferris State Sports Report, track and field was in action at Allendale, speaking of Grand Valley, in the Al Owens Classic. Really solid meet, very hot. It was 83 degrees, and it was sun out the entire time, which definitely took some adjusting to. But, a lot of our finishers did really well, while a lot of new faces being able to compete in some new events as well. I got another crack at the 5K. Went much well than I expected, despite being trapped on the rail, boxed in for the first mile at the back. Well, not cool. Basically, I had to sprint up to the next pack after mile 1, which is something I did not prepare for. But it went pretty well. Donis Harris won the 5K. First overall place finish for him, as well as Noah Griffith, Dan Hardesty. Great performances in their first 5Ks of their collegiate careers outdoors. Forrest Akers, second overall in the shot put. Jason Keena, fourth in the javelin. Nice chuck, 146 feet. And the 4x4 team came in 11th overall, I believe, out of I think there's 16 or 17 total teams in the 4x4, so pretty solid there. Claudia Wilkinson, 5th overall in the high jump. Danae Feldspot, 6th in a loaded 800-meter run field. Callie Delaney was 9th in the steeplechase, which there's a story on steeplechase I'll get to here in a minute. As well as
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It has to be mentioned. 3 of the top 8 as well in the women's 5K. Hannah Brock finishing 2nd overall. Hannah Kubiak 4th and Milane Strauss 8th. And that's just a piece of more that you can find all those on the recap as well as live results from the event. So what I'm referring to, anybody that follows me on Instagram already knows this. In steeplechase, there is a man named Peter Wilcombe that put on an absolute clinic for the fans, and it was one of the greatest steeple performances ever. He ran, I believe it was around a 13-minute time, which is not fast. But ladies and gentlemen, it was better than any fast person could ever run. It was absolutely incredible. Every water jump, he had some new trick for us. And what was basically a joyride. He was not racing. He was taking some screen time, and boy, was it worth it. He was out jumping the water pit altogether. He did a 360 over the barrier, and the final one that everybody got to see, a classic belly smacker with a belly flop on the final water pit for the fans, and it was absolutely glorious to watch, and it was just so fun.
How deep is the pit?
It's pretty deep. Like it gets up to my waist at the bottom, but some people don't know. Like some people just think it's just a giant tub. It's just a square. It's angled. So basically right off the barrier on the other side, it's like pretty much, I would want to say like 3 feet deep. And then it gradually goes back up, and it goes to basically flat again by the time you're out like 5 feet or so, or whatever the actual measurement is. But yes.
I knew it was on a gradual thing, but I didn't know like if it was like 1 foot, 2 foot or something. I was like, Eve, that's commitment.
Yeah, it was commitment.
How wide is it? Like
you got to be gutsy. I want to like it'd be like two in between 2 to 3 lanes of a track. So if you can kind of imagine. It's basically about that wide.
6, 7 feet, 8 feet.
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. So no margin, not a lot of margin for error if that's what you're getting to.
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe. Hopefully, he didn't like smack his head or like his ankles or something like that on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that was cool from the weekend that some people may know, you guys know who Frankie Lapina is, the guy, the video man from GV. He was there at the meet, and we had actually run into him a couple times, and he actually took part in the 100-meter dash in the final heat. And I kid you not, there was probably at least 200 people on the infield or on the rail of the stands that were videotaping on the entire way. And you can actually go look up like on his Instagram or his TikTok or whatever. There's a video.
Oh, the green screen guy?
Yeah, green screen guy. He was there.
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I know he graduated from Grand Valley.
Yeah. Him and his dump truck made an appearance to the 100-meter dash. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was really funny because they were actually going to kick him out at first, but the whole crowd started booing because, or at least the people on the field, because obviously we know who he is. Obviously the other parents probably have no idea who he is. What is this guy doing? Why is his butt so big? Questions are being asked, right? But yeah, it was absolutely hilarious. He put on a show, and it was cool to see. So the Allen Ones Classic certainly lived up to its expectation as a wild meet. This year for other reasons than the actual weather conditions, but it was pretty sweet overall. But really, really memorable meet. Belly flop in the steeplechase. Get to meet a famous guy off of TikTok. I mean, what else could you ask for? 85-degree weather, scorching. I mean, it was wonderful. Overall, it was a great weekend. Should be fun. We'll be in Davenport coming up this weekend for the Davenport Classic, which should be a really fun meet. Gonna be fun. Gonna be fast as well. But that's the Ferris State Sports Report. When we come back, we'll dive into the Ben Simmons Brooklyn Nets situation right after this. Over the past 2 years, this show has changed a lot. But one thing that has always stayed the same is our podcast platform and distributor. Anchor.fm is the one-stop shop to create, distribute, and monetize your podcast all for free. There's built-in uploading options and editing tools so that you can make and create and publish your episodes with ease and have all sorts of exclusive options as well as sponsorships, subscriptions, and even monetize ads as well. You can have all the analytics, all the insights to make your show number one. So if you're thinking about making a podcast, look first at Anchor by Spotify. That's Anchor.fm.
And we're back after our quick little break, and we're going to hop into some NBA playoff talk right now, something we haven't been talking about too much as the series were going on with everything that's been happening. But, boys, what is going on with the Nets and that whole situation? Thought it was going to change when old Ben Simmons came to town, but all of a sudden he just sits out and he looks like a clown on the sidelines with his bright-colored shirt and all that stuff, and he just doesn't know what he's doing over there. But, I don't know, crazy stuff going on with the playoffs. What do you guys want to talk about first?
I think we got to start off with Brooklyn since you brought up Ben Simmons. This was an all-time failure. Kevin Durant choked, Kyrie choked, and Ben Simmons. I don't think we've ever seen an athlete literally the last time we saw him play, he played, then he just took a year off. He literally begged his way out of Philadelphia, came to Brooklyn, saw they were down 0-3, then asked for a doctor's note to get out of Game 4. I've never seen it. Ben, you quit. He has no competitive fire. And Durant, I used to say Durant was better than LeBron, but I take that back. Durant should never be compared to LeBron. I can't believe they got swept, but I don't think it's the end of the road. I think they could possibly make a run next year, but it's bad. Kyrie, being part-time most of the year, not wanting to get vaccinated, coming back, and it's bad. That
whole franchise over this season was just weird. Yeah, but to go back to Ben Simmons, I kind of figured this was going to happen because he did the same thing at LSU. He was a little bit, not super committed all the time. He was able to get drafted. He just went one and done. That was his plan right when he got to college. And, what LSU could have been good that year, if they actually, kind of tried really hard. But he did this in college. He kind of did it in high school, too, when he was kind of developing there. And then, we could kind of tell when it was Philadelphia as soon as their playoff hopes would kind of go away, he would just really sit on the sidelines, not really try too hard.
If I was a teammate of Ben Simmons in the scenario that they were just in this series with Boston, I'd legitimately be concerned playing with him over the next year. I seriously would, because the fact of it is, Travis is right. Begged out of Philadelphia, right? Got the trade to go to Brooklyn. James Harden goes over in the deal, which also, by the way, Daryl Morey looks like an absolute genius right now, despite the haul that he just gave up to Brooklyn, just to get Ben Simmons out of the room, out of the facility, out of the arena, and onto the other opposing team's bench. That's the reality of what has happened here. And the biggest thing is, he said, yeah, I'll be ready Game 4. Game 4 rolls around, he's not there. He's warming up. He's doing everything pregame. And then when teams come back out on the floor 10 minutes before, he's in dress clothes. And you're saying to yourself, oh my gosh, did we seriously just get duped again? Because it seems like all this guy's doing is going through the motions to make sure that he's getting a legitimate cause for when then he goes literally a week later and files the grievance of that he should get his $20 million. Even though he's never even played a game. Seems ridiculous. A little like he has other priorities now than basketball. And that should be a concern going forward.
Oh, for sure. I just think this team was very overrated. I think nobody on the team really has that competitive fire. I know a lot of people try to look at Durant as the killer instinct, but he's really not that guy. And I hate to say it, but it's true. He should have never left the light skins in Golden State. I don't think Durant will ever win a championship without Steph Curry, because this really enhanced Curry's legacy in a way. Because a lot of people, when they look at those Warrior teams, are like, Durant went there, the Warriors begged him, that's why they won those two. In reality, Durant needed them more than Steph, because he got swept. He hasn't been past the second round since leaving Golden State. And last year, the only reason why they beat Boston, Jaylen Brown didn't even play in the first round, so we saw the difference this year. And shout out to Jason Tatum. He played amazing.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, and he's only 24. But, yeah, Brooklyn has a lot moving forward. But I did want to ask you guys about the Suns and Pelicans. That series is 2-2. There's no D-Book. Game 5, I believe, is tonight. If the Pelicans win this, how much of a failure is that for the Suns? Because this team went 64-18. They should be good enough to be able to beat the Pelicans without D-Book.
I think in the scenario of the circumstances around the series, it's more understandable because, D-Book was the guy for this team over the stretch. Yeah. And when he went down, obviously everybody's going to be gasping oh, now what are we going to do? Because they don't have as many – defensively, they're fantastic. they're able to have a lot of good offensive games just from fundamental work and having somebody step up, which 50% of the time is Book. So now you're saying, who's going to be that guy to step up? Where Chris Paul isn't at the same point of where he's trying to take over games as much anymore as he used to a few years ago when he was with the Clippers. And, outside of that, you have Bridges, you have Crowder, you have DeAndre Ayton. None of those guys are all fantastic players, but none of them are takeover guys, right? Nobody has a takeover badge in 2K on this Suns team, and that's what they're missing. And especially when they're in these close games like they were just last night, that they were in the position of who's taking the rock. And the Pelicans were able to just play good fundamental defense down the stretch, force some tough looks, and, that's what's gotten this series tied. And, it's been definitely tough, especially because I think the momentum of being in New Orleans obviously has helped them a ton because, over the last 2 games, they're a different animal than they were in the first 2 games, right? Like, the first 2 games, we were like, oh, no D-Book, no problem. Like, Suns are going to roll this through 4 by the first 2 games, but they got a little momentum there, so I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think the Phoenix's fallout, honestly, like, when you look at what, like, Brooklyn has went through, I think that Brooklyn's fail is going to be more notable just based off of the other things around it because people can understand losing D-Book, right? That would be like Golden State losing Steph after 2 games. Like, that's so hard to go through when you're down the stretch. But, yeah, I got to say Brooklyn's colossal failure might trump that, which is even baffling the fact they could lose it. But it's one thing injured guys. It's another thing when
you're just not
guys,
performing.
frankly, not playing.
Yeah. And I think it's funny too because as like near the start of this series, like Chris Paul to Jose Alvarado, like when he was trying to sneak and get that steal, he would be like, get on the other side of the court. But then when it came down to it, like he was able to get that clutch steal. And like Jose Alvarado like was a pretty underrated player, I'd say, in this series so far. And I think he's going to be a guy who can probably come in later on. But they're back in Phoenix, so we'll see how that kind of switches the momentum a little bit. Because D-Book's out for the whole first round, right?
Yep. Him and Chris Milton for Milwaukee as well.
Yeah.
I think the winner of Game 5 wins the series. Brandon Ingram's been incredible, averaging over 28 points.
Yep.
He's been ridiculous.
So that'll be interesting. I do agree with Brandon's point. I do think injuries to, Brooklyn, that was a complete failure. And looking at some of the other teams, like obviously the Warriors up 3-1 over the Nuggets. Jordan Poole, University of Michigan. Who would have thought the third splash brother? I see he's like a baby Steph to me. I love what the Warriors are doing. They're actually my pick to win the West and potentially win the title. I think it'll be either them or the Bucks, but the Warriors just, the core of Clay, Draymond, and Steph is just amazing. They're actually 16-0 in playoff series where all of them start every game. So it's incredible to me that Klay Thompson, after having 2 possible career-ending injuries the last 2 years, is still a better playoff performer than Kevin Durant and James Harden. That is just, it's a fact, but it's true.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I it's hard for me because, like, in the position of KD's in, obviously everything around him is not helping. But, when you're one of the guys in this league that is come in to change a franchise and it hasn't worked yet, you kind of start to question the validity and of what he's done. And then you bring up Golden State. Yep, he had Steph, he had Clay, had Draymond, his OKC. Yep, he had Harden, he had Westbrook. And now you're saying, oh, is he really that guy? But in the reality, he still is that guy. This was a bad series, don't get me wrong, and there's just playoff jitters when it comes to the former OKC team together. Ever since they departed, they've all lost their powers, I guess is the way to describe it. But I think there's a lot that you go in through this playoffs because I think this is finally the year that we're going to start to see great teams finally coming together to get to the finals, where it's not superstar-led a team like we've been kind of blessed with the last couple of years, especially with the Cavs and the Warriors going at it for a couple of years, and then obviously some other notable from years past, like the Miami Heat experience and such on and so forth, where this is now actually going to be the best team's going to make it, not just the best crew of the best players is going to make it. So it's going to be fun. I originally, I believe, I think I had the Suns and Sixers going to be facing off. Obviously, that was with D-Book still healthy. So I'll stick on my train just for now. But obviously, it'll change when obviously you have the Suns if they potentially fell out against the Pelicans, which would be really interesting because then they'd probably end up playing Dallas. Now Dallas has pretty much a trip in my mind to potentially get into the conference finals, and they're going to be potentially playing a team like Golden State or the Grizzlies. So that'd be really interesting to see going over down the Eastern Conference or Western Conference, excuse me.
True.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm still going with my pick, Giannis. I've been saying he's the best player in the NBA for all year. I think if he can win it with no Middleton, at least go far with no Chris, that'll just be some GOAT stuff. I just feel like he's amazing. Reigning Finals MVP, and the Bucks have just a great core, and they've been steamrolling. The Bulls are up 3-1 in that series. I believe that'll end in 5. So, no, the playoffs are definitely great. And one thing I can say before we end this segment, I love how much parity, boys, it's in the playoffs. There's no really super teams. Like all these teams, Boston was homegrown, drafted Tatum and Brown. Bucks, obviously, they're a small market team. That's why I really like Milwaukee.
Yep.
And the Warriors, this is like the original team that they drafted. So I love how much parity because there's multiple teams that can win.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. If I were to, this would be my holy grail. Boston, Philly, and then you would have Phoenix, Golden State. The young firepower you'd see from both teams would be absolutely off the charts. But you look at where the series is now, especially for Milwaukee and even just from Chicago's collapse too. Right. You're going to have a potential Giannis-Tatum matchup that is going to be so fun to watch. And obviously without Middleton, that team's different. But, they still have a takeover guy. That's the difference with what we're seeing with Phoenix because Milwaukee still has Giannis. I'll take over a game. Where Phoenix, it's got to be like, yeah, Chris Paul's got to step up and be that guy and play better. Or some of the younger guys, Cameron Payne or McCall Bridges or whoever it is, they got to step in to take over while Book's gone, or otherwise their run's going to end up a little short. So it's going to be interesting. I do not think, though, as much as I love the way that the Heat played, I'm concerned over the next couple series because I think they'll get out of Atlanta, I think, tonight. Or do they play tonight or tomorrow? I can't remember. Anyway, I think they'll win this one, or I think Miami's going to sweep in 5 over the Hawks. But, when you look at a matchup with Philadelphia, if you're going to be cold overall shooting-wise, you're going to have to make sure that you hold Philadelphia to potentially 90 points to sneak out of that game, just based off of what you've seen from Philadelphia's offense has been pretty solid against Toronto. And they've played, and Philadelphia's been able to get out of some close games with Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a little concerning to me with the Heat, but because I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Heat because you got all these other teams as well, like Boston and Philadelphia and Brooklyn. Even I don't know how many times I saw, Brooklyn's winning it all in like Bleacher Report trending feeds, and I'm just like, what if they don't make it out of the first round? And then ding, 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 look where we are right now, sitting here on April 26th, talking about potentially the Brooklyn Nets literally blowing the whole thing up and starting over 2 years ago after acquiring Kyrie, Harden, and KD.
It's
wild times.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wild times. But I think it'll be fun. I think this year's playoff, I would agree, the parity is really cool because we don't have like those super teams anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the value of team building is higher than ever because that's really what we're kind of seeing because we've seen how that's compared to years past with teams like Utah, with teams like Denver that have always gotten so close and then they run into Golden State or they get to there and they lose to the Lakers. Like it's just they're always in the mix, but they never can get up over the hump because of that super team. Well, in really what everybody's mind, the number one super team's gone. So now it's an open floor without Brooklyn. So. Oh, my gosh. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great finals. I'm glad they brought the script back logo. Let's bring it old school the way that it was back. And I think it seems like it's got that old vibe. We're starting to get the viewership back up. And I think this year's finals will be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. Thank you, boys, for having me on one last time. This was a great show.
Absolutely. Great show.
Love having you on, Travis, to be honest. It's gonna be sad when you're not going to be here next year. It's like that's the one thing, especially like Barrett graduating and stuff, and like a lot of people that are not going to be here anymore. It's like, dang, it's weird. Like we all came here together for our freshman year, and now it's like,
yeah, that was the year me and Barrett transferred. I'm going to miss you both a lot. I think you both have grown, like seeing the show when you guys started in February 2020, seeing all the athletes. I'm a fan. Like I think you both have like great career ahead of you. And, I'm going to miss it. Like, this room is like where it all started. Even when COVID happened, we did like the Last Dance recaps together from Discord and Zencaster. So, like, I remember all those times. Those were fun. And I'm excited to see what you both do, too, moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, dude, you're going to make me tear up here.
Yeah, it's been fun, Travis. And obviously, your ventures now in Kalamazoo as a TV anchor begins soon, and it's so fun just to be able to follow what you're going to do, and you're going to do great things, and we're going to be rooting for you all the way. And, I mean, it's been great. I mean, I hope we get the gang back together one more time. I think
can't wait
it's possible.
to see you on TV. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
And the one great thing is we all got like Discord stuff like that, call in. So, definitely be in Connect. I appreciate
everything's gonna be good. It's not a goodbye. It's a see you later.
See you later.
Just a long see you later. That's all it is. But thank you so much for joining us, all of us today. Travis, of course, for joining us, all the fans listening in on whatever podcast platform you are on, Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. We have gotten back on YouTube. We're starting to get it back. Make sure we had all of our stuff updated so you can go watch us there, including a new bit. Me and Joe had a conversation about some robot umpires, and that one made the cut, I guess, in the best bits clip. So you can watch that on YouTube right now if you are available and want to do so. But anyway, until next time.
Take care, everybody.